Hello and welcome to the Kitchen Conversations podcast. My name is Patrycja Rozwora and I'm the host of this platform where we speak about contemporary art from so-called Eastern Europe. In each episode, you're going to be introduced to one artist or researcher whose visual or activist practice sheds light onto the complex former socialist region with all its histories, cultures, languages, foods, but also traumas and their inevitable contemporary consequences. This podcast is a fully independent platform existing since May 2020, meaning it is not a funded project and it is self-run by me, myself, and I. If you enjoy the monthly conversations, please consider supporting the podcast by making a single donation on buymeacoffee.com/kitchenconversations or becoming my monthly Patreon via the Patreon website. All the needed links can be found in the show notes of this episode. Hello and a warm welcome to all those tuning in for the first time. This year has kicked off with significant political turmoil from the west to the east, so I hope that today's episode offers you a moment of relaxation and sparks your curiosity, especially regarding Belarus and the way its creative film industry is evolving, even in exile. My today's guest, Artsiom Lobach, is the final person recommended to me by the Belarusian Filmmakers Network. If you haven't already, be sure to check out the previous episodes featuring the other two guests, Vladimir Kozlov and Lena Le. Today, we dive into the documentary film Way Home, which tells the story of Pavlo, a young man who, following Crimea's annexation in 2014, moves to the Ukrainian countryside in search of solitude. My podcast guest, Belarusian filmmaker Artsiom, only truly understands his protagonist's journey after he himself was forced to leave Belarus and settle in Vilnius, Lithuania. Welcome Artsiom to Kitchen Conversations. How are you doing today?
Today it was a difficult day for me. That's why I'm very happy that we start this conversation, because I hope that it will be a happy experience for me.
Cool, okay, that's a good motivation for me. You are now in Vilnius, in Lithuania.
Yeah.
And how is your experience of living in Lithuania?
Better than I think before, because when I live in Belarus, there are many of my friends visit Vilnius or study in European university. Belarusian university was moved to Lithuania, and there are many students from my friends' area visit this university in Vilnius, and they are back to Belarus, and all the time we communicate with each other. But I never been before in Vilnius. I come here like a safer place for my new life. I start to learn this area, and it become really interesting area, because especially Vilnius have part of Belarusian history, because in the past we have mixed historical points, historical events, historical persons. And it helps me to feel comfort in this new area for me. I not feel myself like a totally migrant. It helps me to integrate in new environment.
And before that, you told me you lived and studied also in Warsaw in the Vaida Academy.
Yeah, it was my two different educations. First time it was in beginning of 2010s. I studied in Warsaw Film School. It was fiction movies. It was my first experience abroad of Belarus, and I'm remind this period of my life with sweetheart, with like a great experience for me.
Yeah.
I really like it. Second time when I was in Warsaw, it was wider school. It was 2017. It was documentary course in wider school, and I made the movie The Way Home.
That we will be speaking today about. And just for like the listeners of the podcast, you speak 4 languages and we are speaking in your 4th language. And that's super nice that you are up for it. You told me, let's speak in Polish, but I was like, well, the podcast is in English, so let's try English. And I think your English is great, so
Thank you.
Don't worry, be confident. And you speak Belarusian, Russian, Polish and English, correct?
3 languages is Slavic languages. It a little bit helps each other, but English totally another language, and that's why I maybe built my sentences like in Belarusian languages in my head and tell it you in English.
And what is your like daily language? What's the language you use most often?
In my life, I usually use Russian language because we speak with my wife in Russian language. It's our home language. But my work usually connect with Belarusian different projects, and usually I use Belarusian language. 50-50, I think, Russian and Belarusian language in my life.
And today we will be speaking about your film practice connected to the TV and movie industry. But you started with quite a different career. Same like me, you're based as a visual artist or designer. Maybe we can start there. How did you transition then to the movie TV industry?
It's so strange to talk about this now because it was several lives before. Really, now I have 37 age, and when I start my study in Minsk, College of Art, I have 17. The 20 years distance.
That's quite some time,
But really, it was very important times for me because it's totally changed my life. Before the study, I was living in Belarusian province, and I don't know about design, or about filming, or about art, because it's just a work town on the east of Belarus. And when I come into Minsk, I get a new society. It helps me to open mind. Yes, first my education it was design, really good college of art in Minsk, and when I finished, I know that design is not only my way. I try to find something more, and video it was second my big interest in that time, and my diploma project was connecting with video. Yeah, but it's not helped me in my next life because maybe you don't know, in Belarus, Belarusian government create idea to it's so complicated for my English.
How to say in Polish?
Że musimy odpracowywać naszą edukację, że jakby skończyliśmy kurs i jakby państwo płaciło za nas i to w końcu po skończeniu tych studiów musimy jakby odpracować te pieniądze i musimy iść do jakiejś do pracy, które ten państwo musi nam zaproponuje. I nie mamy wyboru.
Basically, like the system is made this way that like whatever you study, you should then like make money with. So like it comes back in taxes and pays back for your education that the state paid for. But like I guess with art education, that's hard to do.
Yeah, and it was a big experience how I tried to live it.
Do you think this fact is it like specific for Belarus or like Eastern Europe?
I know that this come from Soviet times, because my parents told me that it was in their student lives, and when it come to my life, in first time I cannot trust in it, because I read it in the books about history I hear from my parents. But it really come in my life.
You thought it's really like too old of an idea that it's just like history that cannot like be the
But
contemporary
the
reality.
not have finished. It's continue in Belarus now, and students in Belarus now have same problems. And there are many people, there are many talent students must go to villages, to small cities and make something not important for their lives. They cannot develop, they cannot visit different European masterclass, schools, courses. They stay on the small village, have no any connections with great tutors, masters. It's a pity, but it's a real life.
Well, yeah, that's the way also to control people, right? Today you fully rely on the work in film and cinema, like you make your money from working with film, which I think is great. And on your YouTube channel, you have basically your whole portfolio and you can see how much you're doing in all different areas. You worked with different production companies, you make music videos, and you do more like commercial or like to say commissioned works.
I like different types of videos and I travel in these different styles. But now my main focus in documentary movies. All time I try to find new characters, new topics. It is not easy for me to develop my ideas in European industry, film industry. This year was really important in my life because I become to understand how it works, film industry in Europe. And now I have to decide what I want to do. It's a little bit complicated for me to take balance between my artist vision and business practice, because I cannot separate it. If I want to create documentary movie in European industry, I must spend 2 or more years on different film festivals, in the different pitchings, network, communication, and it's like a new work for me.
Of course.
And for example, I have idea about East Prussia heritage. And I try to find producers on film festivals and through internet, through different contacts, and I have no results. Maybe now I understand that this topic important for me, because this topic gives me energy. I want to learn it. I want to make movie about this part of history in Lithuania, but I cannot find people who feel like me.
Interested in also financially supporting this production.
And now I feel frustrated. And in general, I try to understand my place in a new film area. When I live in Belarus, I don't think about film festivals. I don't think about pitching or some kind of about film industry. I want to make movie. I have camera, I have friends, and I go to do it. And first, my movies they was created in this way. But when I moved to Europe, I bring this model of creating movies here is not work here. Really.
And here you speak about this low budget, right, or no budget type of cinema. But why is that not practiced here, you think, in like Western Europe?
I think it depends on, first of all, on network. Maybe I am a specific human. My energy to network very quickly become to zero.
It's hard.
And when I have feel this condition, I start to think maybe it's not my way to make a movie in Europe. We talk with you about this in my good period. Now I feel safer. Now I am living in Lithuania. I have all legal documents, and in this moment I create my future once again. I want to make movies or maybe something more. Maybe it will be multimedia projects, maybe it will be art, maybe it will be anthropology. I don't know. In this period of time, I think about this.
Well, that's exciting if there is new ideas coming. And safety, of course, is important, right? And feeling good at home. And that, I think, brings us to one of your films that I wanted to speak today about. Your latest documentary film that I was able also to watch because it has English subtitles, which was nice. And everyone who will listen to the podcast can watch it on your YouTube channel, which I think is great. And I think all what we were just talking about, like being away from home and like missing your home, but trying to find your new place and trying to understand this new reality is really part of this film that you made. Your film Way Home that you already mentioned was produced, or like the idea was developing still in your school in Warsaw in the academy. And it's premiered in 2020. And it's a documentary about a protagonist called Pavlo, who is a Crimean citizen who leaves Crimea and lives in the countryside in Ukraine.
He leaves Crimea after Russian invasion in 2014.
Yes. So that's perhaps like the first question to you. Maybe you can explain exactly like how you found Pavlo, of course, like the character, and then the political context of his decision to leave his home.
First of all, I think that I make movies for humans, and humans need human. When I met Pavlo first time, it was really untypical person. He have a specific charisma. That's why I catch him and start filming. And first time it was just for fun. It was before 2014. We met in the small Belarusian village. Maybe you hear about downshifters. It was a really big wave in Belarus that young people bought a house in the village because it's really cheap. And I have several friends. They are bought houses in different villages, and Pavlo come to one of this village to help to develop this village. Because it's really amazing situation because there are many villages abandoned in Belarus, and when you have 1,000 euro and you understand that you can buy this house, it's really make you feel that you have 23 years old and you can buy house.
Yeah. Totally, of course.
So strange. That you can, and several of my friends bought all village.
Crazy.
You can imagine it. It was in south of Belarus, the village between swamps. It's not easy to come in because in the spring it's totally cannot visit this village just by the boat.
Boat.
Yeah, it's amazing, but you cannot find this on my movie because but it's the background of the story. And I met Pavlo in this village in the south of Belarus, and I create first small video about him. Few years ago later, Crimea become in the strange situation like annexation by Russian army. And Pavlo moved from Crimea to middle of Ukraine, and in this moment my videos become like a new status or like a new conception, new condition. I don't know in English.
Yeah, somehow like get a new value or like get a new context.
Yeah, new context. And I understand that I want to continue this movie, and why the school helps me to develop this project. Later, I start to filming Pavlo in his new life in Middle Ukrainian. And when I made it, when I shoot it, it was for me like it's normal. Because when I live in Belarus, I was born in one small city, moved to Minsk. After I moved to Grodno, and I still in one country. And when I'm filming Pavlo in middle of Ukraine, I feel him like myself. He moved from Ukrainian part of Crimea, moved to the middle Ukrainian. It's same country. But he all time told me it's not his motherland. And I cannot understand him. It was main question why I filming him.
To
I
understand.
try to understand him through the camera, through the movie. And I was alone, without crew. This is totally my movie. And sound and production, it's totally my movie without any budget.
Amazing.
Because I want to find this answer. And most strange things happens later. When I create this film in 2020, it was premiere of this movie. Later I put on YouTube and become 21 and I leave my country with one ticket.
One-way ticket.
The one-way ticket. And in 2022, I show this movie in Vilnius for another migrants from Belarus. And when I watch it with another, I understand. And first time when I can understand my protagonist. Because what I feel when I watched and made this movie, it was same. But when I made this movie, I live in Belarus. And when I watched this movie 2022, I live in Lithuania. And it helps me to understand my protagonist. And really, I was crying. Because it's like the history totally complete.
Need your own experience to really understand such a complex feeling of leaving your home because it gets occupied and it doesn't like stand with your political views and your own like life as a human being. Also, like while watching the film, I definitely had to, at the beginning I was wondering where is he actually living? Is he living in Belarus or in Ukraine? Because he always spoke about Crimea and Ukraine as like very different places. And this may be like a question to you. Perhaps you can tell me more about it. Is it because Crimea has such a specific identity that he felt like this? Or is because like Crimea got occupied by Russia so early that it became very different to Ukraine? Why does he feel so different about his homeland, Crimea, and the rest of Ukraine back in 2020, right? I mean, now it's a completely different situation, which we'll speak about, but back then.
Patrycja, did you visit Crimea?
No.
No, you never been there. I was there several times and I have a great experience. But it was before Russian annexation. And I think that Crimea a little bit another than Ukraine in general. Crimea is autonomic region in Ukraine. It's not totally Ukrainian like same Ukrainian. Before 2014, it was normal that we visit Crimea like autonomic region. And it helps us to understand that Crimea has specific position in government, in country. And I feel it because Crimea have strange history, not typical for big Ukrainian. And I think my protagonist was born there. He grew up there. And when he moved to Central Ukrainian in 27 years old, he really felt that he come to a new area, like me. Come from Belarus to Lithuania. Yes, in Vilnius, in Lithuania, I know places who connect with Belarusian history. Pavlo have same feeling in Ukrainian, but it's not Crimea for him. That's why in my movie he all time back to her memory. That's why he tried to create a sea beach where he live and something like that. He cannot put new life in his personality. I don't know how.
chooses also to live by himself or like rather away from other people because it seems like easier for him to close up than like to integrate. That seems like a easier way for him. He bought a small house in the countryside. He has his cat and his small dogs and a lizard, I think.
Later he take care about the horse. And last information about him that I hear, but I have no connection with him now. Now he in Ukrainian army, and I cannot imagine how he live his new family with these animals, and take a gun and go to
fight for Ukraine, to the front line. Yeah.
Fight to Ukraine.
It's kind of also in a way beautiful for him, I can imagine, to have this film, because it really shows like a small world he creates for himself, and that I think he feels like happy, or he feels like he found his place, although he is away from home, but he creates this little island of Crimea for himself where he feels safe and he just lives like he wants to live. He says, I think, that that's his choice, and maybe it's not so exciting for like the film, but this is how he just does it. Coming back to the film, like you said like it was your film, you made it, you filmed, you made the sound. It was like no budget, I think.
Sound made great Belarusian sound designer, Artsiom Lobach. It was a big part of my budget.
All right, it went on the sound. Okay, so it's not like...
It's really important.
Yeah, I wanted to say like the quality is super good, and as I said, everyone can watch it and it's available for everyone. I think it's a great watch. I really, I had a very warm feeling watching it, and I could connect with the character very much. Although also, as you said, like it was hard somehow to understand, but I guess because I never had this experience to have to leave your home. You know, I only left my home because I had a choice and not forced by a political situation. And one more sentence, like a comment about the film, that although it's like from 2020, so like 2 years before the full-scale invasion, and now like basically the whole country is in the situation of Crimea, occupied by Russia, it was still very relevant film, I thought, and it felt like the silence before the storm, you know?
It's our reality. We cannot speak about Eastern Europe without Ruski Mir, yeah?
Yeah.
Because this topic back all time. It's the Soviet Union heritage or something like that. And all time.
Yeah, not only about the heritage and the history, but the present day, right? Which is, I think, the most scary. And also when I started doing the podcast, actually also 2020, I saw the relevance of speaking about these topics because of more like the history or like the Soviet memory that is still very present in politics. But I had not expected that there will be a war in Eastern Europe. Because, of course, now it becomes a completely different relevance of speaking about it.
I don't like speak about this because it don't helps me to develop. When we talk all time about Soviet times or Russian Ruski Mir, it's not my vocabulary. I don't use it in my normal life, but it's all time around me.
Yeah, present.
And I want to make distance with this, but it's
not possible.
Cannot.
Just before the recording, I checked your website that back in 2023 you made a little clip of Svetlana Tikhanovskaya and her New Year's message. I assume because she's also in exile in Lithuania, you kind of got connected. But can you tell me how it came to be? And how was it to meet her and work together?
When I moved to Lithuania, to Vilnius, people who work in Svetlana Tikhanovskaya office, they are connect with me. We made a big Belarusian conference in 2022. It was really new experience for me because it was first time for me when I was like a director of conference. something new. It was 300 people in this conference, and after this case, they invite me to make this New Year video.
And what was it? So it was like a message to the opposition, to the people in exile. What was she saying in the video? Like, what was it about, and where was it published?
Oh, New Year's message. I think all time they have same structure. In shortly form, maybe it sounds like we have hard times, but we can, we must go further. Mm-hmm. Something like this. And next year it will be
better.
Help us to make ours better. Yes.
And where was it published?
Everywhere, in YouTube first of all, and different Belarusian TV shows. I don't know how in Poland or in Germany maybe it's not same traditional, because in Belarus it's like from Soviet time, Soviet time tradition that we don't have Christmas time like a main celebrate. We have New Year is like a main party. From this time start New Year's. Real New Year, like everybody tried to prepare for this party, and all presidents have their speech, main speech, in this time, because everybody in this country, in Belarus, or I don't know, in Russia too, they turn off their
watching TV
sets or YouTube. And it's like a ritual. Not for me now, but when I live with my parents, I cannot imagine New Year without this speech. Because it's really speech before 00. And everybody hear it. And what you will say in this, everybody hear it.
In that way, it was super important, right? Because she's like the chosen president, the chosen by the people.
Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, she is a leader of democratic movement, but she take traditional from Soviet times with this speech before New Year. For me, it's really interesting because Belarus is country between East and West in Europe, and you can feel it that if you come to Belarus, you can feel that Belarusian culture mixed West and East traditional cultures, languages, words. Everywhere you can see that we live in the border.
Yeah, and I guess also she understands maybe too, that you don't have to cut from the other traditions. I mean, traditions are also like something to debate. Like, should we abandon them or should we implement them in the new world, right? I think it's a cool way to think.
In new context.
Exactly. And maybe also speak to the older generations who, feel very closely to that TV on New Year's.
Yeah, but what about me? I really lose my traditional, what I have in Belarus, and I cannot connect to new Lithuanian or Western traditional. I don't feel it because I was not live here before in my childhood, and I don't like traditional from Soviet times because it's Soviet times traditionals. And now I am create or develop my own traditional. I think about this.
That's a good way, I guess. Yeah, create your own. And you can, right? I mean, you're free to do that.
But really, I like Lithuanian traditionals, because Lithuanian traditionals base it on paganic part of their history, and is more older than Soviet times or Catholic times or Orthodox times. It's more older, and I like it more because I think that is connect with me without any knowledge, something like this. Our roots in Vilnius, for example, it's really big party for whole city. For example, the middle of year when the night and day have same
length.
Time in the day, they create big fire in the central city, fire of wolf. There's a wolf. They are built big wood wolf, and in the night they make fire It's
cool.
really good, I think. It's really big imagine for me.
Exciting. I will read about it. I don't know about it. And coming from the topic of traditions and culture, at the end of the podcast, we speak always about food. Is there any food that is homey for you, or that you like making, or that you took for your own as a new tradition for your home?
I made several movies about Belarusian tradition, and now I try to change my focus to future or nowadays. Of course, basically on tradition. And if you talk about food in my kitchen, I understand that I like something new. It's not connect with my Belarusian kitchen or
Heritage.
mother kitchen.
Yeah.
It's pancakes, sweet potato, greased cheese. I cook it.
You bake it in the oven?
Maybe grill. Maybe better it will be grilled.
Grilled. So it's like a dish that you grill on the pan under the lid?
And I hear that it's more American style of kitchen.
Okay, but there's pumpkin?
And sweet potato and greased cheese. And when I mixed it, I think it's very tasty for me.
Delicious. So it's like a kind of one pot, one dish together.
Yeah. And maybe one more. I really like carrot with hummus. These dishes have no connection with Belarusian culture.
And this was it for today. Thank you for reaching till the end of this episode. The next one is coming in 4 weeks, always on Monday. Please follow the podcast and leave a rating. I'm also happy to hear your feedback, so feel free to write me via Instagram or by email. All the needed info you will find in the show notes of this episode. In the meantime, take good care and we hear each other soon.